Hi guys, Mr. Escue here on a lesson on balancing equations. As we've been talking about equations and reactions, we've been discussing the fact that all the atoms on the reactant side have to add up to all the products, all the atoms on the product side. So everything from the left has to equal everything on the right. Now, keep in mind that when you balance equations, it is a trial and error process. So, there's going to be some back and forth. There's going to be some give and take. Now, I suggest very strongly that when you balance equations that you always use a pencil because you're going to be doing some erasings, particularly with those coefficients. So even though it's trial and error, there are some things that we can do to help us mitigate our time. So you just follow our step here that we'll go through for balancing. First thing you want to do is that you want to balance your metals. Now, where are the metals? Well, look on your periodic table and you can find them. So if you have any metals in your equation, you want to start with the metals and do all the metals before you do anything else. That's first. The next thing you want to do clearly will be your nonmetals. That's what's going to be left, isn't it? All right, so go through, pick out your nonmetals, and work with them next. Now, sort of to help yourself speed things along, if, and this doesn't happen all the time, but if you have polyatomic ions, then you can actually balance those as complete entities. So if you have hydroxide on the left side and hydroxide on the right side, you can work with that. Now that's the caveat there. The polyatomic ions have to be on both the reactant and the product side for you to balance these and use this as a step. If they're not, if you just have it on one side or the other, just break it down into the individual atoms and just follow steps 1 and 2. The last thing you want to do is balance your hydrogen and your oxygen. And it doesn't really matter particularly which order you do that in, but always do that last. And it'll probably save you a lot of time, but nevertheless, it's still trial and error. So we'll give it a go here, guys. So here we have a reaction that has sodium being dropped into water, and you get a pretty violent reaction to get some sodium hydroxide and a little bit of hydrogen left over. So we'll balance this out. Now remember, step 1 is that you're going to deal with your metals first. You look through here, oh yeah, we see that sodium is our metal. Now notice where I put this. I'm going to put it right under the arrow so that I can do a left side, right side balancing. And I'm going to count. I have 1 sodium on the reactant side and I have 1 sodium on the product side. Hey, this stuff's pretty easy, isn't it? Alright, no more metals, so I'm going to go to my nonmetals. Well, I see hydrogen and oxygen, and oh, wait a minute. I see, oh, we're supposed to do those last, aren't we? So anything else? And I'm sort of looking in here and I see some hydroxide. Oh, I can do that. That's a polyatomic ion. I've memorized every one of them, haven't I? And I look, but it's not on the reactant side, so I can't really use that right now. So I'm going to go on to hydrogen and oxygen, and it just becomes, what you want to do next. I think I'm going to go with, let's say, with our oxygen. And I look on my left side and I have 1 oxygen, and on the right side I have 1 oxygen. So that's balanced. Boy, this stuff's pretty easy. Now I'm going to go to my hydrogen and I'll look on my left side. I've got 2 hydrogens, and oh, okay, I look over here and I've got 1 hydrogen there and I've got 2 right there. That gives me a total of 3. Oh, okay, things got a little strange here. So what in the world can I do? Now, this becomes trial and error. There is no coefficient that I could put on the reactant side to give me 3 hydrogens. You can't put a 1.5. You have to use whole integers as we've discussed earlier. So I'm going to have to change things around a little bit. And I'm thinking, okay, trial and error stuff. And one of the things you can do to sort of speed things along is just change things up. I'm looking here, so I'm just going to change things, trial and error, and I'm going to take and just put a coefficient. This is an understood 1, as we've talked about, in front of the sodium, because there's nothing there. It's understood to be 1. I'm going to put a 2 here. And when I do put a 2 there, that changes the sodium here to a 2. And to make it a 2 over here, I'm going to have to add a 2. So that takes care of my sodium. And I go back on my oxygens. Oh, wait a minute. My oxygen on the product side has changed. It is now 2. So to get it a 2 over here, I'm going to put a coefficient of 2 in front of there. That gives me 2 oxygens. And now I'm looking here and seeing how things are working out with my hydrogens. I now have 4 hydrogens on the reactant side, and I look over and I've got, and if you look here, 2 times 1 in the sodium hydroxide is 2 right here, and then I've got 2 more, which gives me 4. So I look here, my coefficients become 2, 2, 2, and 1. And that gives us our balanced equation. And we'll continue to work on those in class. But just to reiterate, this is a trial and error process, and we will work on our problems.